of Hick from French Lick.
Have you ever seen someone so confident, so fearless, that even the best players were afraid of him? Larry Bird wasn't just a basketball player, he was a real-life nightmare on the court. Not because he was the fastest or the strongest, but because of how he thought the game. Before tip-off, opponents weren't just preparing to defend, they were getting ready for a mental battle. And not with some loud trash talker or flashy dunker, but with a quiet, deadly shooter who knew exactly what he was doing. Bird would walk into a locker room, tell players how and when he was going to beat them, and then go out and actually do it. He didn't need to dunk to dominate. He'd look you in the eye, point out your weak spot, and then pick you apart like a surgeon. And what made it worse? He did it all without even looking like he was trying. Players feared him because they knew. He had already won the fight in their heads. He's the only white guy who ever gave us nightmares. That wasn't just a line. It was the truth. Larry Bird lived rent-free in the minds of some of the toughest players in the game. This wasn't about stats or trophies. It was about the mind games, the fear, and the respect he earned from everyone around him. He wasn't loud, but he didn't need to be. He was the storm you never saw coming, until it was too late.
That boy, he can play, man.
Larry Bird didn't just play the game. He played with your mind. He'd tell defenders exactly what he was about to do, then do it. One time, he walked up to a defender and said, "I'm going to get the ball right here, turn, and hit the game winner in your face." And guess what? That's exactly what happened. No drama, no hesitation, just cold-blooded execution. This wasn't just trash talk, it was a mental trap. When Bird spoke, you started second-guessing everything. You weren't just guarding a player, you were trying to keep up with a chess master who was always 3 moves ahead. Then there's the legendary story during a three-point contest. Before it even started, Bird looked around the locker room and said, "So who's playing for second?" That's not arrogance. That's a man so confident in his skill, he knew the outcome before it even began. And when he won, he didn't celebrate. He just walked off like it was business as usual. He didn't need to shout or show off. Larry Bird was a silent assassin, calm, controlled, and deadly. He didn't care about social media fame or validation. He cared about winning and making sure you knew he was the reason you lost. Bird's confidence wasn't loud. It was terrifyingly real. And once you felt it, you never forgot it. But here's the question. How do you stop a man who tells you exactly how he'll beat you and still does it?
Some people always talk about great basketball players.
Larry Bird wasn't the fastest or the highest jumper, but when the ball was in his hands, everything seemed to slow down, and the court became his chessboard. His basketball IQ was off the charts. He could see plays develop before they happened. While others were reacting, Bird was already anticipating what the defense would do. No-look passes were his signature, throwing them to spots that no one else saw coming because he had already read the defense 5 seconds ahead. When the pressure was at its highest, Bird got colder. If you needed a clutch 3, he'd sink it. If you needed a rebound, he'd outposition someone taller and stronger. His defense wasn't flashy, but he always slid into perfect position, like he had a blueprint for every offensive move. And when he faced top stars, he didn't try to out-athlete them, he out-thought them. Larry Bird didn't just play basketball. He broke it down, dissected it, and turned it into something almost surgical. Every dribble, every pass, and every shot was calculated and precise, turning fundamentals into a weapon. So here's the thought. What's scarier? Raw athletic power, or a mind that sees the game before it's even played? Larry Bird wasn't just feared by his competition. He earned respect from some of the greatest players to ever step on the court. Magic Johnson, often considered one of the most charismatic and skilled players in NBA history, didn't mince words when talking about Bird. He called him cold-blooded, a compliment coming from Magic himself, who had seen it all on the court. To Magic, Bird was a player who wasn't afraid to go for the jugular, who wasn't just trying to beat you, but to outsmart you in the most ruthless way possible. Dominique Wilkins, a legendary scorer and athlete in his own right, described Bird's performances as cruel. But it wasn't cruelty for cruelty's sake. It was Bird's ability to break you down mentally that made it feel like a psychological execution. Wilkins respected the way Bird would dismantle his opponents, not just through sheer skill, but through a calculated, methodical game that always kept you guessing. Then there's Gary Payton, one of the NBA's all-time great defenders, who admitted that Bird's mental game left him shocked. Payton was used to guarding the toughest players, but with Bird, it wasn't about physical defense. It was about keeping up with a mind that was always 2 steps ahead. Bird's ability to manipulate the game mentally often left Payton frustrated, as he realized he couldn't just rely on his defense. Bird was already thinking past it. John Salley, another veteran, echoed the same sentiment. He said he was always a step ahead. This wasn't just a compliment to Bird's basketball IQ, but a recognition of his ability to outthink every opponent before they even realized what was happening. For Salley, Bird wasn't just playing the game. He was controlling it from the sidelines with his mental edge, and on the court, he was always 1 play ahead. So, what does it say about a player when even the legends admit they were constantly outsmarted by him? Larry Bird wasn't just a player who wanted to win. He wanted to dominate, to break your spirit on the court, and to leave no doubt who was in control. He never took prisoners. But what made his killer instinct so dangerous wasn't just his ability to score or defend. It was his ability to humiliate with class. Bird wasn't loud or obnoxious about it. He didn't need to trash talk or puff up his chest. His game did all the talking. He played with a quiet, unrelenting confidence that struck fear into anyone who crossed his path. While other players might show visible signs of aggression, Bird's face remained calm, almost emotionless. But behind those stone-cold eyes was a competitive fire that burned brighter than anything you could imagine. His stoic expression was a mask that hid a mind constantly calculating the next move, the next opportunity to strike. It was this balance of calm and fury that made him so dangerous. His opponents often said that they feared what they couldn't see, the quiet intensity that was always lurking beneath Bird's surface. His killer instinct was something that could only be understood by those who faced him. Players who went up against Bird often spoke about how his game spoke louder than words ever could. They'd mention his ability to make clutch shots when the pressure was highest, or how he would break down their defense with a series of calculated moves. Former NBA player Charles Barkley once remarked, "Larry Bird never said much, but he didn't need to. He let his game do the talking, and trust me, it said everything." Another legend, Kevin McHale, a teammate of Bird's, echoed this sentiment when he said, "Larry never needed to hype himself up. He let his game speak for him, and it was the loudest thing in the gym." McHale made it clear that Bird's ability to focus on the game, his deadly precision, and his knack for clutch moments were what set him apart from the rest. It was never about the flash. It was about efficiency, effectiveness, and the ability to execute when it mattered most. Larry Bird's killer instinct wasn't about intimidation. It was about a silent, relentless drive to outsmart and outplay his opponent at every turn. And that's why, even to this day, his name resonates with fear and respect. But what does it mean when you can leave an entire league in awe without ever needing to show off?
We're fighting against the Lakers, and Larry and Magic had come out.
Larry Bird wasn't just a legend in Boston. His influence transcended the confines of the Celtics and left an indelible mark on the entire NBA. He wasn't merely a great player. He was the catalyst that helped revive the NBA during one of its darkest periods. Before Bird and Magic Johnson came into the spotlight, the NBA was struggling to attract mainstream attention. But Bird, with his fierce competitiveness and undeniable talent, quickly became a symbol of hope for the league. He was a superstar who brought both the Celtics and the NBA back to life, helping elevate the sport to new heights. Bird's rivalry with Magic Johnson was one of the most iconic in sports history. Their competition wasn't just a battle between two players. It was a showdown between two different personalities, two different playing styles, and two different visions of what basketball could be. Magic was all about flash, charisma, and excitement, while Bird was about grit, mental toughness, and precision. This clash of styles intrigued fans, drawing them in like never before. Their rivalry wasn't just confined to the court. It spilled over into the culture, making basketball a conversation piece at every dinner table, bar, and office. It sparked a renewed interest in the NBA, leading to a golden age of basketball in the 1980s. As we come to the end, there's one thing we can all agree on: Larry Bird's legendary status is eternal. The impact he had on the game of basketball is undeniable, but it's his unyielding confidence, his intelligence, and his ability to rise above that makes him more than just a player. He's a symbol of greatness. He didn't need to prove anything because his presence said it all. This quote encapsulates Bird perfectly. He didn't have to brag, he didn't need to boast, and he didn't need flashy moves to show his worth. His presence on the court was enough to instill fear, respect, and admiration. It was his confidence, his mental game, and his pure basketball ability that spoke volumes without ever saying a word. Larry Bird may not be playing anymore, but his legacy will never die. He's still a topic of conversation, an inspiration to players, and a benchmark for what it means to be great. The legend lives on, and as long as the game is played, his spirit will continue to influence it. The question is, when you think of basketball greatness, who else can you think of that defined the game the way Larry Bird did? Now, it's your turn. Who do you think could stand toe-to-toe with Larry Bird in today's game? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of legends that shaped the game we love. Catch you in the next one.